Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org, back with another video for the new Boston. Now in this tutorial we're going to be talking about error reporting, and I'm going to be speaking a bit why error reporting is important during development, and then again why it's important to turn it off when you're not developing and when you're releasing software, or releasing code rather, onto a public web server for public use. Now let's take a look at what error reporting is. Now if I was to create a PHP document, and I've got my PHP tags here, and I was to say write in some invalid code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to make this equal to Alex, but I'm missing out the line terminator, which is a semicolon. So I'm missing that out on purpose. Now at the moment my error reporting is turned off. So when you're developing, you may find that your code will not run even if you have output outside of your PHP tags. So let's put this into practice in an example. I'm going to refresh my page. Now you can see that nothing has been returned to us, no errors or no output at all. Let's in fact echo this here, and we can demonstrate that we're getting no output whatsoever. Oh, we are. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Well, we are because it's the only line in our code. So let's create another variable down here called Billy. Remember, PHP works on a line-by-line basis, so if you've got only one line in your program, you're not required to use a semicolon. But I'm going to put another variable in there as well, and I'm going to refresh the page, and you'll see that no content appears, whereas it did before. So no content appears, but no error message has been given. So we need to turn error reporting on to our select value of error reporting, our select, how can I say, settings, if you like, of error reporting. And I'll explain this in a minute when we take a look at our php.ini file. Now if you open up your examp PHP location where the PHP folder exists, for me this is c:\examp /examp/php, and we need this file called php.ini. So I'm going to double click on this and open this. We've opened it in Notepad, and I'm going to go and find on the page error reporting. So now you can see we've come down to this error handling and logging place here. We have an explanation here of each stage, or each setting rather, of error reporting. So for example, if we were to set error reporting to E_all, this would report all errors and warnings, but not including E_strict. E_error, fatal runtime errors. E_warning, runtime warnings. So we have all these different types of warnings and errors that we can allow our user to see, or us as a developer to see. But by default, I think mine is actually set to 0. So let's go down. Okay, so we've got error reporting equals 0. And this is error reporting off altogether. As we've seen in our browser, we've not retrieved an error, or not been returned with an error, even though we're missing a semicolon. Our page isn't working. Now, it's also great to note that if we were to have outside content, outside of our PHP tags, this is also not going to be displayed. Now, you may have come across this before, where you've created a PHP document, you've had outside and inside PHP comments, so you've got HTML content here, and then you've got PHP content inside here, but you're just getting a blank page up. Take a look inside your php.ini file and check for this, check error reporting, and I can pretty much guarantee most of the time it's going to equal 0. So what we need to do is we need to change this to something that's going to give us back an error. And there's a few examples here, but we can create our own custom if you like. In this tutorial, I'm just going to be dealing with E_all. So you can say E_all. Now, bear in mind this doesn't equal E_strict, so we'll have a look at that in just a moment. So we've got E_all here. Now let's go ahead and save this. So save. What we need to do now is we need to restart our Apache server. So we come into our exam control panel, click stop, and click start. This may be slightly different for you. You might be using another package installation. Now what we can do is we can open up our browser and click refresh, and you can see that it's giving us our error back. So we're saying here parse error, expecting a comma or expecting a semicolon on line 4. So what we can do now is go over to line 4, and you might think, well, I've got a semicolon on line 4, but in actual fact it's referring to the end of this line, meaning it's expected either here, or in terms of reading it, it's expected here. So when we fix this and we refresh, you can see that it's working fine. So we've got our outside content and our inside content. Now let's go back to our php.ini file and have a look. We've got error reporting currently set to eAll. So we are reporting errors back to ourselves as we're developing. Now what happens if I want to report errors, strict errors for example? Well, this doesn't include eStrict, so what I can do is I can specify to say and e_strict. Now what this is going to do is it's going to incorporate strict errors. So what we're talking about is code that might run, but let's have a look at the definition. It might run, but it's runtime notices enable PHP suggest changes to your code which will ensure the best interoperability and forward compatibility of your code. So it's basically giving you messages about your code itself rather than errors that you might be coming across. So you don't need to include this, but maybe it's a good idea if you want that kind of error reporting to show. However, we've used this ampersand here, but what we can do is we can say, let's say eAll, and use this symbol to say well, we can say ampersand as well. We can say not including e something else. So we could say not including e notice. I've just noticed as well this example is actually written up here. So yeah, I wasn't looking at it, but coincidence. So error reporting eAll and e notice. So what you could do is you could specify it like this, which will show all errors except for notices and coding standard warnings. So it's not going to show it's not going to show notices, and the coding standards warning is the eStrict part of it. So remember, eAll doesn't show eStrict. Now if you wanted to show code standard warnings, so coding standard warnings, sorry, you could just do this. So you've got eStrict here. So it's up to you what level of output you want. You can mess around with this, and once you've got your application maybe built a bit bigger, you can turn this on, have a look, and keep it on anyway, but it's a good idea to fiddle around and see what you can come out with on this. Especially if you're getting a blank page, you can change this to say just eAll. So when you finish developing, on your web server, you should probably always turn this off. Why? The reason being is that if errors do occur on your page, especially eStrict notices, you don't want your viewers to, or your visitors on your website, to be seeing eStrict notices, nor do you want them to see errors if you've maybe trying to include a file somewhere. For example, if you're trying to include a file somewhere and it can't be found and you're returning an error, what's happening is then they're understanding the structure of your website. So for security reasons, it's probably best to turn error reporting to 0, either on your local or web server when you release this to the public. So if you say have paid hosting, you might not be able to get access to php.ini. However, you can use a couple of functions to change values, and that's what I'm going to go over just now. So what happens if we want to dynamically update this value inside PHP? Now let's close php.ini and we'll have a look inside here. So what we can actually do is, let's get rid of the outside content as well. What we can actually do is we can specify error reporting either like this. So we can say error reporting 0. I don't think it's working on my installation at the moment. Yeah, let's just get rid of that, see what happens. Yeah, okay, so error reporting 0. You can then change it to say eAll, and then refresh the page, and you can see, oh no, we're not getting that back. Maybe we could. No, okay, so it's not working on my installation just yet. However, you can use error reporting maybe on like a public server. You can also use things like ini set is a great function to update values in your php.ini. So we can say ini set error reporting all. So then, I don't think this is going to work either for my installation, no. But the idea of this is that you are dynamically setting your ini file, or you're just using the error reporting function on its own to change these values. I think with the ini set you don't need to include these, so it's just like that, regardless of whether it still works on mine. No, it doesn't. So that's a bit about error reporting and how you can either produce errors or hide errors from either yourself or the public, and a bit of information about why you should turn it off, as well as some examples of setting this up on the fly.